One of the things I realized during my first year of teaching here was that students weren't meeting the expectations that I had for them. And I realized I had to shift time away from talking about literature to giving them feedback on the kinds of skills that I wanted them to develop. So they would have an assignment before class. What I would then do is I would read all of their responses, and that gave me a sense of how to better prepare for that day's discussion. So what I would do is then I would select 3 or 4 particular responses that I thought illustrated either common shortcomings that I was seeing or someone doing something really well. And then I come into class and I show those up on the board. And then I just have students look at those responses and I say, okay, what do you see here? And the great thing about that is that they're identifying on their own the ways in which that person is doing something well or not doing something well. And then, I'll kind of second what people in the class say, or I will step in and say, all these are great observations. I really like what we've talked about here, but there's also this thing that I want to make sure we talk about. Class then becomes this kind of workshop environment where we're talking not about the content of a poem, but we're actually talking about the skills that then lead to often conversations about the content. So what I've done is I've shifted my preparation time from preparing lectures to spending my time instead reading their writing. And it requires a certain type of spontaneity, which I actually really like quite a lot. It goes from being routine type of course, the way that the course plays itself out, to really dynamic type of course. Of course, I'll pick certain examples that I see certain things in, and I'll list a few things that I want to make sure we talk about when we talk about that student's writing sample. But students will come up with things that I wasn't seeing before, or they'll have questions about a particular example that I didn't anticipate. But I really like that as a teacher. It brings a liveliness to the class that the students really sense that they're contributing something valuable to the conversation, that it's just not this thing that I have mapped out perfectly when I come to class. And I find that they end up being much more invested in it. They sense the spontaneity of the class. And they sense that what they have to say really matters. That sometimes when you have certain things you want to say, students sense when their comments don't fall within that particular game plan, and I think they're less willing then to say things. Whereas here, this kind of class, students sense that what they say can really change the course of a discussion. They become more invested, and so I really, really like the way that it plays out.